reserved for the searchers. So that is you who are here today. Other people are searching in their own ways, but let's just talk about you. It does not mean that if someone is not here today, then he's not searching, but you are here today searching for your chance in economic emancipation. Let me just mute. Ladies and gents, please mute yourselves as you come in, just mute yourself. If you go out as you come in, just mute yourself. So I'm saying you will only find something if you search for it. You will only find good ideas if you're searching for the good ideas. Now in life, we are out searching for numbers to our own locks. We don't know what life has for us. The only thing that we do on a daily basis, work out and hope that that particular day will be a life-changing day for us. It will be the day where we find the good combination in the lock, in the keys that we're trying to unlock, whatever key that you are trying to unlock. But today we specifically on properties and economic emancipation. So I hope that today is one of those days where you will find your lock. So even if you do not find your lock, and like I said, that in life you must continue searching, because you might think you have found the lock only to find that that lock opens just this space. You still need all of that. And if you are not out there looking, you won't know what is available for you. So that is why people go to church every Sunday. They don't go once in church and say, today the sermon was so good. I'm so spiritually uplifted, I will not go to church again. It does not work like that. When you're looking for something, you must be out there looking for it. Every day you wake out, you go looking for it. Saturdays, every Saturday you wake out to join us in these sermons that we hold. So that's just to say welcome to you and congratulations for having the time and spend your time and money to join us. I must say, talking about money, I must say that there is a lot of people that I let in for free, because as you would know that we are not out here looking for money. I'm talking about Ekasi Properties now, but we are out there trying to spread the gospel of property investment. Now, I must just say this. I know everyone that did not pay today where they live. So if you said you don't have money and I see you at Wimby having breakfast, I will send my knee breakers to you to get my money. More especially those that I asked them to subscribe and they did not subscribe, those will be in big trouble. Here is our agenda. We're going to talk a bit about Ekasi Properties. Then we're going to talk about goal setting system and financial freedom, how to achieve your financial freedom and using properties. And we're going to do some live deal analysis today. Lawrence has agreed to do that for us, to show us how it's done. And then we're going to talk about what's next, and then we close. Now, when you see these, if you have been here, you know we are about to begin. When you come here, please bring your open mind. Don't allow any blockages. If anything that we say seems impossible for you, you rather ask yourself, how can this be made possible? Because if we are saying it's possible, if someone's saying it's possible, it means somehow it is possible. So you must just ask yourself, how can I make it possible? We are here looking for students and not disciples. Here at Ekasi Properties, we want to have educated investors. We want the ideas that Lawrence is going to share with you today. You must go out, investigate them, research them, and see how can they benefit you. In so doing, you'll also be applying what you're going to learn today, because as you know, unapplied wisdom is wasted. You also need to be present. Don't be busy doing other things whilst the session is on, because you're not going to benefit as much as you would if you focus. and most importantly, contribute. Ask questions after the session. You can even do in the chat as Lawrence is presenting, and then tell other people about this, the sessions, tell other people about Lawrence's book, tell other people about everything that Lawrence is going to share today. And also please just subscribe to our network, our social media channels. A bit about myself, there's always new people every day. A bit about myself, I'm a property investor, I'm an accountant, I'm a Toastmaster, I'm a trainer and a coach, and you have my contact details. If you did not have them, there they are. You can take them, then we have a chat. A bit about Ekasi Properties. We started this platform for not property investors, property stakeholders to be able to advertise their needs and share ideas. When I'm talking about property stakeholders, I'm not talking about property investors. I'm not talking about tenants, but it's all inclusive. I'm talking about plumbers, electricians, builders, anyone that has got anything to do with properties is welcome to advertise their properties in any of our platforms. Facebook, you go there in the Facebook group, you advertise. Twitter, you tag us on Twitter, we're going to retweet for you. Then you join us on YouTube, you learn from our past sessions. I did say to you that we are in good hands today. Lawrence is a serial entrepreneur. He's a business coach, he's a published author. He has got about 4 books that he has published. There's another one that he's working on as we speak, me and you. We actually took him out in writing his book. And as you would see that he has been to university, like most of us, but he somehow decided that computer science is not gonna be the way for him, but he will incorporate in another way of living. Now, he's been a successful investor for a long time, generating passive income. He runs 4 businesses. He's got some tools that he's going to also share with us today, which is my property app and property tech tools to analyze properties. He's done many things. It's not going to be enough to, we can just spend the whole day just talking about Lawrence. But I'm not going to do that, but rather I will give it to him to tell us a bit about himself and then give us the message of why we're here. Lawrence, again, Mebra, siyabonga baba for having sacrificed your time to be here. It's amazing how people in the property industry are so willing to assist. When they are called, they just jump. You did not even ask any questions. You just said, "Bra, I'm in. Give me the time and date. I'm in." We highly appreciate your generosity for your time.
It's an absolute pleasure, man.
Yes, yeah. Thanks, Lawrence. So I will stop sharing the screen and then you can take over.
Let me just open my screen share here. You should see a slide.
Yes, it's coming.
Okay, you can see it, eh? Okay, I'm just going to share the screen like that. Okay, cool. So first, Ndumiso, thank you for the opportunity. I love what you guys are doing at Ekasi Properties. I think it's a very cool brand, very cool community, and everybody on the call here today, thank you for being here. It's a Saturday morning, and that just shows your intent and your desire to improve your financial position. You know, to sit on a Saturday and listen to somebody share their knowledge about property talks a lot about your dedication and your passion. So Siyabonga, thank you for being here. I hope that you'll learn something. So what I'm going to take you through today is a blueprint on how you can create a plan to create financial freedom through property. I'll also go through a live deal analysis with you. I'll share with you some financing strategies and also how you can get into property with little to no money. So let's start off. This is me. I think there's already been a really nice introduction from Ndumiso, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. But yeah, I'm an author. I'm the founder of My Property App, and I focus on student accommodation, multi-let, and buy-to-let investments. My story is one that probably is similar to a lot of yours. I was told and conditioned from a young age that in order to succeed, you need to have a degree, you need to have a job, and you need to work for 40, 50, 60 years, and then you can hopefully retire at some point happily with an investment fund or with some sort of pension. So I studied computer science at the University of Pretoria. And here at the bottom left, you can see this is my first day in corporate. This was a company, Dimension Data. You can see there I'm on the right-hand side. It was my first day. I thought it was a blessing to be working there. I didn't realize it was actually a curse. My dream when I was younger, and I don't know what your dreams were. I'm sure all of you have a different story. But when I was 16, and my teacher asked me what I wanted to be, I never said to them I want to work for a corporate. I never said I wanted to be in a number at Dimension Data. I said I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write books. I wanted to be able to walk up to a pretty girl at a nightclub or a Nando's and say, "Hey, baby, my name's Lawrence, and I'm an author." That's what I wanted to be. But like I said, the conditioning of our schools and our education system doesn't let people do what they love. We have to fit into these streams of what is acceptable. You can be an IT professional, you can be an accountant, you can be an engineer, but you can't be a writer, you can't be a painter, you can't be a professional soccer player unless you're the best of the best, and that always irritated me. Anyway, I worked at Dimension Data for a few years and things were going well, and then I got retrenched. And it's funny how you can go from being a valued employee to a line on a spreadsheet like this. And it's very, very easy to delete a line off a spreadsheet. So I think the idea of having one income stream and having a safe, secure, permanent employeeship, that just doesn't happen. There's no such thing as a permanent contract. And that's when I started getting into multiple streams of income. I attended a workshop. I got myself a coach. Many of you guys know Andrew Walker. And I just got the knowledge and the confidence to get started in property. So a lot of what you guys are doing today and joining the Ikasi platform is about sharing, learning, and getting the knowledge and the confidence to get started. Today, that was about 10 years ago. I'm now a full-time property investor. I do a lot of buy-to-lets, multi-lets, etc. I've got a couple of businesses. For me, losing my job, being retrenched, and going broke, having to ask family and friends for money because I didn't have any income, that scared me, and that's what made me do multiple streams of income, and that's why I've got a couple of businesses. And I'm proud to say that I get to live my dream. I'm also a published author. This is my first published book through Penguin. It essentially details my journey through property investing. If you do want to get yourself a copy, you can just go to my website there at the bottom left, lawrencebull.com. And yeah, it's also an exclusive book. So it's pretty easy to find. Now, when I started in property, I didn't actually win. I did what a lot of rookie investors do. I bought a property thinking it was an investment, not knowing what an investment looks like. So this is the first property that I ever bought, and I call it here my investment in quotations because it's not an investment, it's actually a liability. So it's a property, it's an estate in Fourways in Johannesburg North. And you can just see here, it's like an estate. It's got a pool and it's got nice gardens, and I fell in love with it emotionally. That's the first key thing. Is I didn't look at the numbers. I looked at how do I feel when I walk into the property. Now, if we look at it from a monthly cash flow perspective, and guys, this is the key part. If the property doesn't make positive cash flow, it's not an asset, it's a liability. So the asking price on this property was 950. I got it at 850. The rental is 7,000. The bond repayments 6,900. So I was told by the estate agent that this is a good investment because your rental will pay for your bond. And that's what I was conditioned. That's what I've been taught for many years, is that as long as your property covers your bond, it's an asset. You're making money at the end of the month. But what about levies? What about rates and taxes? What about provisions like maintenance, etc.? So my first asset ended up costing me 4,000 Rand per month. And this, guys, is why I believe we need a re-education in property, because I used to believe this was an asset. It's not an asset. I mean, it's making me poorer every month. It's costing me 4,000 Rand per month. So the re-education is being able to see a property not from an emotional perspective, but from a financial and numbers perspective. Now, if we're able to use property in that way, we're able to make sure that the rent exceeds the expenses, we can reach this concept called financial freedom. Now, financial freedom is my guy here on the left-hand side. You can see that he's enjoying a cocktail, and money is coming in without him having to put in time. And that's the concept of financial freedom, is money is being made for you without your time being invested. So a job, for instance, as an IT professional, that's not financial freedom, because I have to put in 160 hours to get paid my salary. But my properties are being run by a managing agent, so the rent comes in, I don't have to put any time in, and that's called passive income. It's coming in without my active time. Now, when your passive income exceeds your monthly expenses, you're financially free. So if you've got enough passive income from your properties, or from, maybe you've got an online business, there's many ways in which you can do passive income, and it exceeds what you need to spend every month to survive, you don't have to work. You don't have to go to a job. You can still work if you want to. And that's what's so attractive about, this concept of financial freedom. I wanted this because I didn't want Dimension Data or the next Dimension Data to have control of my life. I mean, let's be honest, if you are employed and your boss says, come to work on Saturday, you're going to say yes. If that's your only income stream, you're going to say yes, because you have to. The same as if they say work on a Sunday or work overtime. If that's your only income stream, you're forced to do whatever they say. But if you've got passive income stream, if you've got other businesses, you can say no, because if you lose that job, it's not the end of the world. So guys, 3 key things: not buying emotionally, but buying with numbers. Number 2, focusing on assets that are cash flow positive. And number 3, multiple streams of income. That's what you guys need to be focusing on to succeed in property. So let me take you through a live example of an actual asset. We've seen a liability. Let's have a look at an asset. So this is a 3-bedroom apartment flat in Sunnyside. My focus is on your sort of CBD investing. I know a lot of you guys on the call, like Ndumiso, you've got a church and you've got student accommodation. You might invest in townships. You might invest in suburbs. The concept's always the same. Obviously, depending on your area, you'll know your nuances. But let me take you through this example. So this is a 3-bedroom flat in Sunnyside. So the key things that I'm usually looking for is what's the current condition of the property, and also, is it currently tenanted or not? So what I can see here is that the kitchen is, it's all right. It's definitely not tenanted, right? You don't see any TVs or any couches. So this means I'm going to have to place a tenant. But it does look like it's been recently renovated. It looks clean, looks painted, no broken windows. So especially with COVID, we want to try and limit the viewings as much as possible. So you want to try and gain as much information here. One key thing that I'm noticing here is the electrical points look quite new. A big cost in the property space is plumbing and electricals. So I'll always look for, whether the electricity looks like it's been maintained. And you can see here that it's looking really good. What they've done here, which is quite interesting, is this is obviously a patio that they've closed off, and they've put in an extra room in there. So what they're doing here is they're taking a 1 or 2 bedroom flat and they're multi-letting it into 3 or 4 bedrooms to get 3 or 4 tenants in. Because with more tenants, you obviously get more rent, so that it becomes cash flow. So it's quite a clever strategy. But it looks good, it looks clean, looks well maintained. Let's have a look here. So it's Sunnyside, Pretoria. It's a spacious 1 bedroom partitioned into 3 bedrooms. Okay. That's important to note. So we can put 3 tenants in here, or 3 people. We want to look for levies, rates, and taxes. Okay. So now we've got more or less enough information to analyze this deal. So I'm going to open up this app. It's called the mypropertyapp.online. I'll just paste it in the chat bar just now. So this is the tool that I built with a good friend of mine. It's a online tool that allows you to analyze deals. So let me just log on here. You guys can still see my screen. Hey, it's still fine. Okay, I'm assuming you guys can still see it.
Yes, we can see the screen.
Awesome. Thanks, Mpiwe. Okay, Lawrence. Let me just log in here. Okay. So we're going to have a look at this deal through the app. The key things that we need is obviously the expenses, the levies, and the rates and taxes. I'm also going to open up a website called Pocketlet. It's a free tool to use. I would definitely recommend that if you want to do some research and some investigation on an area, Pocketlet is a great tool for that. So here I should be logged in now. I'm going to go to buy to let. Because this is obviously a buy to let opportunity. You can also do buy to flip. You know, when you buy low and you sell for a premium and you make a once-off profit. That's not really a strategy that I focus on too much. So I don't know why the internet's going so slowly. Okay, so I'm going to add a new deal. Oh, it's usually a lot quicker than this, but I think because I'm sharing my screen and everything, maybe it's going a bit slower.
Yeah, and thanks for this tool, Lawrence. I did not know about it. Pocketlet.
Yeah. So Pocketlet it's a tool that helps you determine rental estimates. So you can say, like an area like Sunnyside, which I'll do now, you can say, I want to know what the average rental is for a 3-bedroom property in Sunnyside, and it will go and look at Property 24, private property, IOL. It will go and pull all of that information together and give you an average. So very powerful tool.
Yes, yeah, that's impressive. Eh?
Yeah.
Instead of doing, because we always have to do that ourselves. You go to private property to check the average rental of the unit that you want to buy. And
correct.
And yeah, but now you've got this tool. Yeah, you see, I already have my money back already.
Okay, so if we're here on this first page on the app, okay, the first thing I'm going to put in here is the asking price. So the asking price for this property here is $355. Now, one of the things that I was taught in my property journey is you always go for a discount. You know, the lower you can buy the property for, the more your profit will be. So I tend to go for like a 10 to 20% discount. So I might start my offering at about 310,000. That's maybe a little bit less. I'd go at like 290. So that's an 18% discount. Okay. My Pocketlet, let me just log in here, and then I can do an average of the rentals. For now, while we're waiting for that to load, I'm just going to assume that in Sunnyside, I can probably get about 2,000 Rand per bed. So I'm going to put a rental of 6,000 Rand. There's 3 tenants that we could probably put into this flat, 2,000 per tenant, so 6,000 Rand rent. That's how I got that. Then I can go to step 2, buying costs. So obviously when you buy a property, you have to pay your transfer costs, your bond registration costs. There's some costs associated to that. I use a tool called Uber, uber.co.za. Again, it's a free tool. So if I just put in here the purchase price of 290. Oh man, why is going on with this? Oh, sorry about this, guys. Usually my internet's much faster. Okay, so 290 is what I'm buying it for. My loan will be, I'm going to try and get a 90% loan. It's a sectional, no, and I'll buy it in a company, calculate. And this will give me a rough number, well, actually quite an accurate number of what my buying costs would be. So let's have a look here. Is Pocketlet loaded? Okay, so let me quickly show you the Pocketlet tool. So I go here to rent estimate tool, app.pocketlet.com. I can then choose my area. So here I would choose Sunnyside. You can choose whatever area you're looking at. So I just need to find the Sunnyside Pretoria. Okay, I'm going to put you at 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, search, and you see what it's doing now. It's going to go and look at property 24, private property, all of these different places where letting agents list their properties. And it's going to give me a rough sort of average of all the rent that's going on in that area. So let's have a look here. Okay, I'm going to see if this is loaded yet. Yeah. It always happens. Here we go. Okay, so 5,062 is the average for a 3-bed. So you see it's taken all of these different flats. It's giving me an average of 5,000. So I'm actually going to go back to my numbers here and I'm going to use 5,000 instead of 6,000. Okay, my transfer costs. Okay, it's not loading. I know that the transfer costs will be about 25,000 Rand. So I'll just put that there. Refurbishment based on looking at the property. You know, we've looked at it. It looks like it's pretty good. I don't see really any big need to renovate. So I'll leave this empty. Other costs, maybe you have to do an eviction or you have to zone the property. If you're doing student accommodation, you'd have to, you know, make sure that the zoning is in place. If it's not, that would be a cost that, you know, you would have to take on. Financing, I'm going to assume a 90% loan, 9% interest over 20 years. So that would be my bond repayment. And the bank would loan me then 261. I would put a deposit of 29. Cash flow. So this is telling us our income minus our expenses. Okay, so our financing costs are there. If we go to levies, the levies we said was 1,350. So 1,350. We look at rates and taxes of 82 Rand. Building insurance would be included in your levies. Now, void is an important thing to note. Like sometimes people think that your property is going to be fully occupied all the time, but that's just not the case. You're going to have things like COVID where your tenants lose their job and are unable to pay for a month or two while they find a new job. Or your tenant leaves and your property is empty for a month, you know, while you renovate and wait for another tenant. So why I've put here a void provision is I'm going to assume that the property will be empty 8% of the year, which is equivalent to 1 month. So I'm only working on technically an 11-month rental, not a 12-month rental. Okay. Management fee, the idea of, you know, investing in property is to have other people manage the property so that you've got that time back, right? If you become the person who collects the rent and deals with the tenant, what you're doing is creating another job for yourself, which in the beginning is fine. But over time, what you want is you want a portfolio managed by a managing agent that provides you with a passive income so that you can explore cooking or music or writing. You know, that's, you know, for me at least, that's the dream. And then a maintenance provision. So what we can see here is once we've included all of our expenses, this one is cash flowing 332 Rand per month, which doesn't sound very exciting, but we can't look at this number. We have to look at your return on investment. The cash flow number doesn't mean much. Return on investment is where you're making a decision as to whether this is a good deal or not. So if you go to the summary page, what it's doing here is it's working out your return on investment. Now, if you want to understand return on investment, think of the bank, right? When you've got a savings account with Capitec or with Standard Bank or whoever, they give you an interest rate. So if you put 10,000 Rand into Standard Bank and they're offering you a 5% interest rate, you're making a 5% return on that 10,000 Rand. At the end of the year, that 10,000 Rand will grow to 10,500 Rand. And that's your 5%, we can call it profit or return. This is bringing a 7.5% return on investment. So if you put 10,000 Rand into this property, at the end of the year, you're going to have 750 Rand profit. So you can compare it to what the bank's offering. So if a property is giving you a 7% return and the bank is giving you a 5% return, I would probably say leave your money in the bank because the bank is risk-free and you guaranteed the 5%, whereas in property, you're not always guaranteed. Your tenant could leave or, you know. So I would say you want to be at a 12 to 15% return in order to invest in a property. So currently this deal doesn't make enough sense. What I would do is I'd go back to step 1 and I'd reduce my offer price and I'd go here to 250. Go back to my summary tab, and now I can see that my return is 15%. So this would be the offer then I would put in. I would put in an offer of 250 on this property. They're probably going to say no. I mean, that's a big discount. So what you're seeing here, the key thing is your capital invested. So in order to buy this property, you need 50,000 Rand of your own money to do this. The rest is financed by the bank. Now, you might not have the 50,000. This is where you can use creative strategies like working with a private investor. You could maybe create a stokvel, get 10 friends together, and each person puts, 5,000 Rand in, and you've got your 50,000. You can maybe get a personal loan with a bank. There's different ways in which you can try and raise this 50,000. But this would be an example of a good investment because you're getting a 15% return. Okay, so that's an example. If we've got time at the end of this presentation, I can maybe take you guys through another live deal. Happy to do that. So that's an example of, yeah, sorry, Ndumiso.
I wanted to say, I'm not sure if you have moved out, but I wanted to say, can you just generate the proposal? I've had the number of people that were asking me about how they draft their proposals and things like that.
100%. Great question. So we've also included this proposal function. So if you want to approach, let's say you want to approach Ndumiso with an opportunity to invest, he's going to ask questions like, what's the asking price? What's the rental? What's the return on investment? He's going to ask all those questions. So what we've developed in the app is a function that allows you with a click of a button to generate a proposal. So here I'm going to generate just a simplified proposal. And what I'll do is I'll open it up for you. Let me open up a proposal. Let's just see here. I'll write proposal. Oh, it looks just like my computer is actually slow. Okay, I need to put in some details here and then we can generate it online. Let's close and close and close. Okay, so you need to put in some inputs. So the app will ask you for some inputs. You can then generate a simplified proposal. This is just a 3 or 4 page document. If you want a more detailed one, you can generate a detailed proposal. That'll be a 10-page document. So while I wait for this to load, because it might take a few seconds with the internet being slow, I might just continue with the presentation. So I'll click the generate simplified proposal. And once that starts downloading, it usually takes a minute or two. There we go, it's starting to download.
Yeah, in the meantime, you can tell us whether is it a free or a paid app, how does that part work? And whether is it possible for us to get a free trial, a free 1-month trial period?
Yeah, so it's currently a paid for service. It's about 100 Rand per month. There is a 1-month free trial, so you can trial that for a month. I'm also happy, Ndumiso, to chat with you, and anyone with reference to Ikasi can get a 30% discount. I'm happy to do something like that to help you out. So let's just chat after the call, and I'll send you a coupon, and then you can you can use that to help your members.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
So this is an example of a short proposal. It takes a couple of seconds to put together. It's automatically generated by the machine. So here you can see that it's taken the high-level property values into account. It's also just taken a picture of me and an introduction. As Ndumiso is maybe my investor, he wants to know who's behind this proposal. It gives some high-level numbers. So it's a very short, quick document. But this is something that you can then send to your stokvel group or to your potential private investors and raise that 50 grand that you need. Okay, so that's what the app does. It helps you analyze deals, but then it also generates proposals. Okay, now let's get to the freedom setting. Now this is how can you create financial freedom through property? This is almost, you can call it the goal setting part of it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my example of CBD investing as a base. Now, you might do, the townships or the locations, you might do suburbs. You obviously have to adjust your strategy to this, but I'm just going to give you a formula and you put in your own numbers. Okay. So assuming that every deal looks like this, every deal that I invest in looks sort of like this. I like Berea in Johannesburg. I think it's a very safe area, very, very high in demand. So let's say that every deal that I look at looks like this, okay? And I'm gonna represent this as one unit. So 2-bedroom apartment as one unit. Purchase price, the rental, and the cash flow. So most deals in Berea are going to have about 6,500 Rand rent, and your cash flow is probably going to be about 1,500, and the capital required will be 70. Okay, so assuming every deal that I look at is like this, I can now work out a plan and a goal on how to get to financial freedom. Okay, so before I get into the freedom setting, the first thing I want to say is that everyone in this room can achieve financial freedom. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter if you were born poor. I've seen lots of investors come from very low beginnings. One of my colleagues, Mneti, he comes from Eastern Cape, and he didn't have much starting capital. He now works at Standard Bank and he's got a great salary, but he's also a massive property investor. He's building a development now of 30 million Rand. And I can guarantee you that 10 years ago when he was still at school, he would never have dreamed that this was possible, but it is. And the analogy I like to use is a six-pack. Everyone that's listening on this call now, Ndumiso, myself, and everybody else, we can all have a six-pack. Right? We can all have that flat stomach, that six-pack, but it does require us to go to the gym, to eat healthy, to do 1,000 sit-ups per day. The same with property. Everybody here can succeed in property. You've got ways in which you can invest in property with zero money. You've got back-to-back and rent-to-rents, and I'll show you the rent-to-rent strategy just now. So there is no excuse. The only excuse is how dedicated and committed are you to making this happen. So that's the first thing. That's the important thing, is everyone can do this. Now, when looking at financial freedom, I tend to break it up into a 10, 15, and 20-year goal. I think that's realistic. Between 10 and 20 years is realistic to achieve financial freedom through property. Now, let's assume that your goal here on the left is 25,000 Rand per month. That's what you need coming in per month to not have to work, okay? Assuming you're investing in Berea, you're going to need 17.5 units. You're going to need 17 2-bedroom apartments, each bringing 1,500 cash flow, and you've got your goal of 25,000. Does that make sense? So what that means is over 10 years, if your plan is to retire in 10 years' time, you need to buy 2 units per year, which is quite realistic. That's, the first 6 months of the year, you buy 1 flat in Berea, and the next 6 months, you buy another flat in Sunnyside, each bringing 1,500 Rand cash flow. Over 10 years, you earn 25,000 Rand per month. You never have to work another day in your life. Now, when we look at the capital needed, remember that you can get the bank to loan you money, but you still have to pay transfer costs, bond registration. You still have to pay for the deposit. So the total capital that you have to invest into your business to reach 25,000 Rand per month is 1.2 million, which sounds like a lot, but over a 10-year period, it's 122,000 Rand per month. So again, does that mean that your job, you have to save a little bit more per month, invest into your property business, or are you going to go to the stokvel and create a plan? You're going to say we need 10 people each contributing 10,000 Rand per month, or however you want to structure it. There's different ways in which you can do that. So that's the 25,000 Rand goal. Now, you might think that that's where you want to be. You might want to go a bit bigger. You might want to go to the 50, 75, 100, 150,000. Now, all of those are possible. It depends how many sit-ups you're willing to do. Okay. So if we look at the more aggressive goals of 50,000 to 150,000 Rand in recurring revenue per month for your property business, those are the number of units you're going to have to buy. So let's look at the 100,000 Rand units, 100,000 Rand per month income. You're going to need to buy 70 2-bedroom units. Now, in the case of like Ndumiso, who does student accommodation, you know, you won't have to buy 70 student accommodations because you're going to have multiple tenants, and each deal might bring you a bit more cash flow than a unit. So you might need 30 or 40 student accommodation units, properties, to get the same goal. So this is just, it's the way you got to think about it. You start with the end in mind. What is your goal? How many units do you need to buy in order to achieve that goal? And then you create a timeline and you say, okay, over 10 years, I need to be buying 2 student accommodations per year to reach my goal. And then obviously the capital required grows when you want to build a bigger portfolio. So I hope these numbers don't scare you. You know that we are talking big numbers here. You know, if you look at the 100,000 Rand column, you're going to have to put R500,000 Rand into your property business every year. If that's impossible, and I understand that's impossible for a lot of people, then you increase the timeline and you say, this isn't a 10-year plan. This is my 30-year plan. This is my plan where I'm going to build a big portfolio and I'm going to give it over to my kids so that they have the start that I didn't have growing up. You know, so that's, you know, you've got to play with these variables until you find a plan that makes sense for you. Because we can all have the sit-ups or we can all have the six-pack, but what are we capable of doing and what are we dedicated to? Okay, now let's say you've got a 30,000 Rand goal. That's your goal. You want to earn 30,000 Rand from your portfolio in the next 10 or 15 years. The question is always going to come to, how can I finance my properties? You know, but it makes sense. I get that you can get cash flow, but now how can I finance it? Now, if you're looking for 30,000 Rand income stream, you're going to need to buy about 20 to 25 buy-to-lets. You're going to have to buy 20, let's call it 20 apartments in Berea. Okay. Now, from a financing perspective, what you're going to have to do is roughly spend 30,000 Rand on each deal as a deposit. So whenever you're looking at your property business, you always have to look at, what can I financially afford? Am I able to save more with my job? Do I need to go through the stokvel route? If I don't have any capital available, you might need to look at at different strategies like the back-to-back or the rent-to-rent strategy. Now, let's say that you approach the bank in order to get financing on these properties. What I want to share with you now is how you can lend infinitely from the bank. So if you can structure your business in the right way, you can get infinite lending from the bank. Let me explain. Now, when the bank looks at financing your investment, they look at 3 things. They look at affordability, which is, you know, basically they take 1/3 of your salary, and then they can determine what your bond facility is. So if you earn, let's say 30,000 Rand per month, 1/3 of that is 10,000. They will then probably say you qualify for about R1 million loan. That's sort of how they will look at you. So affordability is one thing. They look at your credit score. So if you've been blacklisted, or if you've got, you know, credit cards that you haven't paid off, your credit score will be low. The bank will see you as a high risk individual and they won't loan you any money. And then the third thing they look at is they look at the investment. They look at the deal itself. Okay. Now, your affordability, this is the key thing about infinite lending. If you buy a liability, your affordability goes down. Now, if we look at my Fourways investment, the first investment that I bought, okay, it was bringing a negative cash flow. I was losing money every month. Okay. What that means is that my salary, my salary that I got from Dimension Data was being reduced by this liability. So instead of buying an asset that's adding money to my portfolio, I was needing to take money from my salary and pay off this property, which in the bank's eyes means that I've got less affordability. My salary was 30,000, but now it's minus 3,300 because that's an expense that's added onto my portfolio. Does that make sense? So when you're buying liabilities like my Fourways investment, it reduces your affordability, and eventually the bank says you've got no more money, you can't afford another loan. But if you're buying a Berea investment and your cash flow is, let's say, 950, now my salary is 30,000 plus 950. Now I can go back to the bank and say, hey, I've got actually more income. Can you give me a bigger loan facility? And as you buy more positive cash flowing assets, your affordability goes up and up and up, and you can start to leverage more money from the bank. The credit score, very important. I would recommend using a tool called clearscore.com. So that's clear, C-L-E-A-R, score.com. Free tool. It gives you a monthly credit score and credit report. It tells you how you can fix your credit score if you've got a bad score, and just helps you get that sorted. And then the final thing is they look at the deal. Now, what Absa does, which is very interesting, is Absa will give you a loan also based on the rental income. Sorry, guys, I live here close to the city, and it sounds like there's some presentation happening outside. Anyway, the bank, the Absa Bank will give a loan based on your affordability, but also they will look at the rental income. So you can see the two lines at the bottom there. The rental income at 80%. So if your property is generating, let's say 10,000 Rand, the Absa Bank will add 8,000 Rand to your affordability, which is very, very powerful. So when looking at a deal that is bringing in a good rental and a good cash flow, the banks will look at you and say, okay, we'll add and give you more and more loan facility. So let's talk about this thing called infinite lending. Okay. Now, why most people struggle with infinite lending is they do this. They buy, sorry, let me just get rid of this. So what they do here is they buy liabilities. Okay, so here's another example. So we've got the Four Ways deal here. This is in Edenvale. It's a negative cash flowing deal. So my affordability is reduced because my salary now gets spent on trying to cover this liability. So when I go back to the bank, what happens is my salary of 30,000, which means I'm bondable for a million. Remember, they take a third of your salary and they give you a bond based on your affordability. Now I've got property one, which is losing 1,600. I've got my Four Ways property, which is losing 3,500. And then I've got another property that's losing 4,800. What this means now is my salary is no longer 30,000, but because I've got all these property liabilities, I've got now 20,000 as a salary. I go back to the bank and the bank says, actually, you're only available now. You can only loan 650,000. So I've lost affordability because I've bought liabilities. Now, if I go for the right deal, I go for a nice Berea flat, and it's making a good, 2,300 Rand positive cash flow. What that does to my affordability is it adds to it. So I've got Berea flat number one, Berea flat number two, and then a Sunnyside student accommodation of 4,000 Rand per month. Now my affordability is based on 40,000 Rand because I've got an extra 10,000 Rand of additional income coming into my property business. Now I go back to the bank and I say, hey, I've made more money. Give me a bigger loan facility. So you can see when you're buying positive cash flowing properties, it adds to your salary. It gives you more strength to go to the bank and say, hey, I've got a good portfolio. Now, if you've got a big enough property portfolio, what you can do is your property business can pay you a salary. So even if you don't have a job, even if you're not employed by a Dimension Data or by a, Woolworths or whatever, your property business becomes your employer. Your property business can pay you a salary. You can take that salary to the bank to raise more affordability to buy more properties into your property business. And eventually, as your property business grows and grows and grows, it becomes an empire and you can live off that income. But not only you, that then becomes an asset that you can pass on to your kids and into your community, and you can, share your wealth, which would be great. So with the right deals, with cash flow positivity, you can tap into the bank's infinite lending, which, is quite an exciting concept. Let's just end with, I want to share with you one advanced deal, or one advanced strategy. This is a strategy called the rent to rent. It doesn't require a lot of capital. It actually requires very little income and capital to get started. The concept is simple. Instead of buying a property, what you're doing is you're renting from a landlord and then you're subletting to a bunch of other tenants. So you're not owning the property, you're controlling the property. So this is an example of a student of mine. His name is Ezra. You can see him on the top right there. He's a student. He comes from a low income background. He doesn't have a lot of capital to invest in property. And that's why he decided to go for the rent to rent, because he wanted a way to make money in property without a lot of capital to start with. So he went into an area in Cape Town known as Kenilworth, and he found this property. You can see here where the arrow is. It's an old guest house. So it's quite a big property. You can see here on the inside. This is what it looks like. So the current landlord was using it like a bed and breakfast almost, so you can see that each room has got beds and a little kitchenette and whatnot. So what Ezra did is he went to the landlord and said to him, you know what, let me rent this entire property from you. I think it's 17 beds. He said, let me rent the whole thing from you. And then what I'll do is I'll go and sublet it to 17 different students. Okay, so he's going to pay one amount to the landlord, but then he's going to receive rent from 17 different students. Now, hopefully, in order for this deal to work, the rent you're paying to the landlord must be less than the rent you're receiving from all your tenants. Okay, so this is how the numbers worked out. He's renting it out to his students at 65,000 Rand per month. I think it's about 4,500 per student, and there's 17 students. So that's how he's getting that rental. He agreed with the landlord to pay the landlord 30,000 Rand per month. So you can already see that he's receiving 65 from his tenants. He's only paying 30,000 to his landlord. Now, Ezra also has to pay for the insurance, for the rates and taxes, for the water and electricity, for the Wi-Fi, and for all the provisions, maintenance, voids, all of that becomes Ezra's problem. So the landlord said, it's fine. You can have my property at 30,000 Rand per month, but you take off ownership of all the other costs. So what he's left with, Ezra's left with a cash flow of 12,000 Rand per month. He doesn't own the property. He never had to buy the property. He didn't have to go to the bank to get a loan. He didn't have to put down a deposit, nothing. The only capital he put in was 3 months deposit, 3 months rental deposit. So that line, the first line there, 30,000 Rand, he had to pay 3 times that upfront to the owner. That's what the owner wanted. He wanted 3 months deposit upfront. So Ezra had to pay 90,000 Rand deposit plus another 30,000 Rand for the first month's rent. So what's that? 120,000 Rand is what he had to pay. He's making 12,000 Rand cash flow per month. So if we just quickly look at the return on investment of that, I think it'll be quite amazing. So the return on investment, you say 12,000, your cash flow, you times it by 12 to get an annual view, divided by the money you've invested, which is 120,000 times 100. So his return on investment is 120%, which basically means within a year, he's made back his money. I mean, in less than a year, he's made back his money, which is quite amazing. So this is a concept that, you can maybe try in your area. If you are looking at more the township type of investing. Can you find a 3-4 bedroom property and rent it from the landlord, but then sublet each room? So you rent it out for, I don't know, 10,000 Rand, and you sublet the 4 rooms for 3,000 Rand each. So you're renting for 10, but you're you're renting from the landlord at 10,000, but you're subletting for 12,000. So you're making a 2,000 Rand positive cash flow. So that's an example of how you don't really need a lot of money to get into property. It helps, but you can be quite creative in how you structure your business. And I know Ndumiso has probably got lots of ways in which he's creatively financed deals. So guys, if you do want to know more about what it is that I do as a property investor, I've got this thing called the Property Bootcamp. It's kind of like what Ndumiso is doing with the Ikasi platform. The calculator, the My Property app is there. I've got some, online tutorials and videos, my books. I do a coaching program. I've also got a YouTube channel and a Facebook presence. So if you just want to know more about what I do and how my stuff works, check out this link. I am 100% and only focused on CBD investing, multi-lets, and cash flow. I don't do flipping. I don't do developments. I don't do student commercial. I specifically focus just on that. So if you want to know more about how to invest in Berea or Sunnyside or, in sort of those CBD areas, Go check that out. A quick time check. Ndumiso, do I have time to still share another live deal analysis, or do you want to take questions and close off?
Yeah, no, let's take questions. We don't know how much questions we're going to get. So I think it's good. The information that you have given us is brilliant information. You've shown us how to analyze the deal. In fact, what I liked, and you exceeded at least my expectations in terms of what I expected of the session today. That, like I said to you last Saturday, we were told how to frame your vision, how to make that a goal, how to set your long-term and the short-term goals. But today you gave us the exact tools. What is it that we need to do? If your goal is financial freedom, then what is it that you need to do to achieve that financial freedom? And in my eyes, it is clear that this is how I set my goal, and this is the steps that I need to do to take to reach that particular goal, which was excellent. And you also shared to us the tools that we can use to achieve that specific goal and how to use those particular tools, which was well done. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Lawrence. Ladies and gentlemen, let's ask Lawrence some questions. While you're still thinking about them, you spoke about using your salary as a test, not a test, using your salary to get the loans from the bank for affordability. Now, we've been taught here in this platform that at some point we must remove ourselves from the portfolios that we're trying to build, because otherwise these liabilities that are sitting wherever they are sitting, if they are sitting in your personal name, you've got no way of removing yourself from them. But if they are sitting in a company and you still need it using your salary to as an affordability tool, then it means you are going to be signing the surety and you are not going to remove yourself from these liabilities. Now, how do we infuse all of this together? The challenge with properties, as everyone would know here is in the platform, is that it's got many moving properties. It's something that looks like it's one, it's solid, but actually it has many moving properties for it to be totally successful. That's why you need someone like a coach to assist you in terms of formulating all these strategies.
100%. Yeah. So I think your point is correct. You don't want to be buying properties in your personal name because of the liability, but also it's tax inefficient. You know, as you reach higher tax brackets, it doesn't make sense. So yes, buy in a company name and have a trust own that company so that you've protected your wealth. That's very important. What you can do is your property company can pay you a salary. So in the beginning, what you need to do is you need to use your current salary to approach the banks and buy properties in your company. Then as you want to increase your affordability, you can take money out of your company and pay yourself a salary to increase your affordability. So you're getting a salary from, let's say, Woolworths, and you're getting a salary from your company, and that could be a management fee. You know, you can quite easily justify a management fee, and that's how you can increase your affordability in your personal name. So yes, keep your company separate, but use a salary mechanism to increase your affordability.
Great, thank you. Ladies and gents, are you ready? You can just raise your hand and ask any question. It does not necessarily have to be a question relating to what Lawrence presented. It could be any property related question or financial freedom concept related question, or his book or his app, whatever that you want to know. Let's start with Kabelo.
Thank you, Ndumiso. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
My question is more directed to Lawrence. With regards to inner city property investing, when you're buying properties in the inner city, one other consideration which normally becomes a problem in the long run is when you buy into a property only to realize later that the body corporate is into a lot of expenses. They are owing municipality 100 and something thousand. But according to calculations, it was going to give a positive cash flow. However, since you buy into the risk, you discover those things. So I was quite interested in how can you detect such, what approach or tactic can you use to determine such risks and ensure that they are clear? That's the first question. And the second question, I know it might be a bit out of scope, but it relates to a trust. How much is a trust on average per month? Thanks.
Great. Yeah, cool. Thanks for the questions, Kabelo. So the first one is a very good question. The biggest risk in your inner city investing is levies. It's the biggest cost, and if your body corporate isn't managing their finances properly, what ends up happening is they apply a special levy. So your levy is 1,500, but then they start doing really badly on their finances, and then they add another 500 or another 1,000 on top, and it kills your deal, kills your cash flow. So there are two things that I would recommend, Kabelo. The first one is you have to get a bank loan when investing in a city, because the likes of ABSA and Standard Bank, they're going to do due diligence on the property and on the building. And if they see that the building's financials are not well run, they're not going to loan you the money. So their due diligence will help protect you. The second thing is you can request the annual financial statements of every building that you're investing in. What I've done, and I've got a YouTube video on my channel. It's about a 15-minute video where me and my friend who's an accountant go through an example of an annual financial statement of a building and essentially tell you where the risks are and what to look at. So if you're serious about investing in a building, you have to get the annual financial statements. It'll tell you how much income they're generating, how much debt they have, are they paying the municipality on time or not, and you'll very quickly see if it's a well-run building or not. If it's not a well-run building, I would just say run away. To your second question about trusts, it depends who you go to as a service provider, but to set up a trust, once off cost, you're looking at about between 10 to 20,000 Rand to set it up. And monthly costs, you're looking at about 500 to 1,000 Rand per month. My advice with trusts, and this is just my personal opinion, don't get a trust until you've got a sizable portfolio. The good thing about a trust is that it helps you protect your wealth. The bad thing is it's tax inefficient and it's expensive to run. So if you're buying one flat in Berea, don't now set up a trust just to protect that one asset. That doesn't make sense. But if you've got 10 or 15 properties and your cash flow on that portfolio is 15,000 Rand, then you can justify a trust at 1,000 Rand per month. Does that make sense? So trusts are only when you're looking really for wealth protection and passing your wealth on to your kids. If you don't have, I would say if you've got less than 10 properties, I wouldn't say a trust makes sense. Well, speak to a trust advisor. I don't want to give that advice either. I'm not a specialist, but that's my opinion.
Thanks, Lawrence. Connie?
Hello.
Hi, Connie.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Ndumiso and Lawrence. I believe everything that we've just heard this morning is very, very informative. Mina, my question is regarding when you are subletting. My concern would be if I had to draw up a contract, the contract would be between me and the landlord, or is it gonna be? I don't know. I'm trying to. How do I draw up a contract if I'm subletting?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's important.
Yeah.
Say again.
No, I wanted to know who is this contract going to be directed to, because I'm going to be the one saying to the landlord, I'm doing this, but now I'm also putting people inside the house, like as I said, that I'm going to be the subletting. So my concern mainly there is the contract.
Yeah, you're going to need 2 lease agreements. So you're going to have a lease agreement with the landlord, and in that lease agreement, you're going to explain that you will be subletting. So it's very important that the landlord is aware that you will sublet. If you do it behind his back, it's illegal. it's not worth it. So you need one lease agreement between you and the landlord that stipulates that you're subletting. Then you need another lease agreement with all your different tenants. And that's where you're going to have an agreement as to how much they pay, etc. So those would be your normal lease agreements. You can get that from any standard template. The lease agreement between you and your landlord, I would recommend you get a lawyer just to make sure that everything is clear and upfront. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, a lot of sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I don't see. Oh, he was saying there's someone in the chat is saying you must please repeat the example of using your salary. Can you read the chat?
Yeah. So, Lawrence, can you please repeat that example of using one's salary to buy more properties via a company and so on? Okay, so the bank looks at some key things. The one thing being affordability. So how big is your salary will determine how big your loan facility is. Now, if you buy properties that are negative cash flow, which means they make a loss every month, your affordability goes down because your salary is being used to pay off the property. And eventually you get to a point where the bank says no more affordability, no more loans. But if you're buying properties that add to your affordability, it increases your affordability and thus increases your loan facility, meaning you can infinitely lend from the bank. Now, the question that Ndumiso asked is, if you've got your properties in your company and you're trying to raise affordability in your personal name, how do you do that? And the answer to that is your company, which is a separate entity, can pay you a salary. So once you've got a big enough portfolio and you're making 20,000 Rand cash flow, you can then pay yourself a management fee and thus increase your salary. So you've got your salary from Woolworths, and then you've got an extra 10,000 Rand for property business. And that's how you can then approach the bank and say, hey, look, I'm earning much more. Give me a bigger loan, then I can do bigger deals. So I hope that that answers the question.
Yes, thanks, Lawrence. Let me see. Great discussion. Yeah, no, it seems everybody is quite happy with what you have shared. There are no questions on the chat. There are no questions on, no one wants to raise their hands. So ladies and gents, I think at this stage, we can just close off and see what's next. And Lawrence, again, thank you for coming through and for answering the questions.
Baba. I appreciate it. It was great. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call. It was a pleasure.
So,
thank you.
So before you ladies and gents go, let me just tell you what's coming. Thank you. Thanks. Let me just tell you what's coming next. Now you can see under that next, it says, someone is making noise. Ladies and gents, please just unmute yourselves. You can see that it's going to be fire that's coming up next. We are having on Tuesday, and you do not want to miss this. And this is what I'm going to be doing for all the roundtables. I'm going to be getting prominent. I did not say celebrity. I said prominent. I'm going to be getting prominent South Africans to come and talk to us about success. And I will call this success model. Maybe I will find a different name for it, because when Provet saw it, he questioned it, whether is a success model. But this is what I'm going to be doing. For every series, a series again is 4 Saturdays. I'm going to be inviting prominent South Africans to come to talk to us about their success journey. Because you must always remember, we are not here, property is not success, but it is a vehicle that we are using to attain success. There's many vehicles that people use to attain success. For instance, Proverb is probably going to tell us that his major success or his major vehicle came from was music and other things that he did, not necessarily property. So we are going to be learning from them in terms of how do they achieve success. And I'm very excited about that slot, particularly this one on Tuesday. It's just a pity that Proverb said he was not available on a Saturday. He said he was available on Tuesday at that time. So that's why we had to sacrifice, because we want to learn from him. For those that again have paid for the session, you can always ask me to send you the link after the session. And then again, like I always say, you can then give me a call or send me a WhatsApp to chat about whatever point that Proverb would have raised in the discussion. So Tuesday, very exciting. We're going to be having Proverb to talk to us about his journey to success. We're not going to be talking to him about his celebrity, whatever that you call it, and all the headline news that have made him famous and all of that. We're going to be speaking to the man behind Proverb, like we somehow did with Euphonic when Euphonic was here last year. And then on next Saturday, we're having Busi. Now, this one with Busi, it's going to be a closed session. It's only going to be for those that have made the financial commitment, because you must remember, commitment is 2 times. I highly appreciate the people that make the effort in terms of sacrificing their time to come here to do the sessions. But some of these sessions, and again, it's going to be there every week, we are going to only have the people that have paid for the session, that have made the financial commitment to be here with Busi. Busi is going to be giving us something that's, again, very exciting. The subject is going to be very exciting, is how do we access our supernatural powers? We attain success in 2 ways. One is our logical minds. Secondly, it's the gifts that God has given us that we cannot access from the mind that we got from university or from school or from wherever. But we can access those gifts if we communicate directly with God. Whatever God you call him, whether you say God is in heaven, or you say God is your subconscious mind, or you say God is the universe, whatever that you believe in, the thing that you believe in, there's gifts that has given us, and we need to be able to communicate with that particular supernatural. So we're going to be getting that kind of information from Busi in terms of how do we access our supernatural. Again, this is going to be a closed session. But you know, I'm a kind-hearted person. So if you seriously want to attend that session with Busi, give me a call and then we can chat. But I'll probably say no, but you can try your luck. Now, you know who I am, you know what I do. For those that are new, I'm a coach. I'm also a mentor. I focus mainly on coaching. Coaching means you have a specific problem in your property journey or your success journey, and you want to just have an ear, you just want to have a second mind to advise you in terms of how you can deal with a specific problem. There's one case that I always want to share, but I forgot about it, where one client or student called me. He wanted to buy a B&B for a student accommodation, and he had everything. We went through the deal in terms of does it make financial and logical sense, and then we agreed that, yeah, it does, a deal that to go for. And then right at the end, I said to him, can you just quickly go to TUT and find out whether are they going to need to have a need for student accommodation? And guess what? He came back and he said, TUT said they've got enough accommodation, and therefore they won't be needing, in his area, and I'm not talking about TUT general, TUT's got different campuses. Now in his area, they said to him, they don't necessarily need outside accommodation. So imagine that you would have spent 2.7 million rands buying the property only to find that was going to be a white elephant. So it does help now and then to just bounce your ideas with someone else who's not emotionally and who's not directly involved with the deal. And I'm that person for you. So that's what I do. You've heard this, you are going to hear this almost throughout the year. I said to you at the beginning that people go to church because they're searching for the right key for them. And I invite you to come to these seminars every Saturday. Maybe one person, maybe Lawrence was that person today for you to give you the last key that was remaining for you to unlock your future. But maybe it was not him. Maybe he opened part of it. You still need more combinations to open it. Next Tuesday is going to be one of those opportunities. The Saturday after that and the many Saturdays after that is going to be one of those opportunities. This coming Tuesday when we meet, and Saturday for those that are not going to make Tuesday, I will not be the same person. Lawrence told me about the pocket, what is it called? The pocket lead, which I did not know anything about. I know today that it's very easy to get average rentals. I don't have to be doing analysis by myself. He showed me his property app analysis tool. He also offered us a discount of 30% on his tool. He showed us how to set our goals towards financial freedom. And therefore, when we meet next week, Tuesday, I will not be the same. And I hope you will not be the same. Because as they say, no man ever steps in the same river twice. For it's not the same man, and it is not the same river. So when we come this Saturday, this platform will not be I will not be the same, this platform will not be the same. And I hope you will not be the same. Lawrence, you would have taken one idea from what Lawrence shared with us, and you're going to exploit and learn from it. With those viewers, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and have a productive weekend. Let's meet on Tuesday with a proverb. And yeah, bye-bye. Enjoy yourselves.
Thanks,
Let's meet on Tuesday. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, Lawrence. Bye.
Thank you, Ndumiso.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mwanyama.